Bronny James is reportedly pleading for an exit, seeking a trade after suffering what he perceives as a profound humiliation by Redick within the Lakers' locker room. From the public undressing on national television to the crushing silence of receiving zero playing time, the simmering tension has finally erupted. But to understand the fallout, we must examine what actually transpired behind closed doors. Is the Bronny era in Los Angeles effectively over? I have uncovered the full details of the breakdown. Let's analyze the impossible situation facing the young guard. February 5th, 2026. The Los Angeles Lakers are entrenched in a physical, grinding war against the Philadelphia 76ers. It was one of those contests that goes down to the wire. A 119-115 nail-biter of a victory. Austin Reeves is absolutely electric, pouring in 35 points. LeBron James does what he has done for 2 decades, contributing 17 points and 10 assists. The second unit is scraping, clawing, and fighting for every loose ball and possession. Yet, amidst the chaos and the glory of 48 minutes of professional basketball, there was one Laker who never unzipped his warm-ups. Not for a single second. 0 minutes, 0 touches, 0 opportunity to impact the game. The heir to the throne, the son of the man who arguably built the modern Bachelor of Arts, sat frozen on the sideline, watching his brothers go to war without him. And if this were just one night, you could overlook it. But this wasn't an anomaly. Just 4 days prior, on February 1st, Bronny was scratched completely from the lineup against the New York Knicks, cited with lower left leg soreness. Between those 2 contests, on February 3rd against Brooklyn, he saw the floor for exactly 5 minutes, dropping 4 points on 2 of 3 shooting before getting yanked, finishing -9, and never returning to the court. 5 minutes, then 0, then 5, then back to 0. That is the cadence of his existence right now. That is the rhythm of Bronny James's sophomore campaign. We are looking at an average of roughly 3.9 minutes per game during his brief cameos, with a scoring average of just 1.8. In a season that is already 50 games deep, he has cracked the 10-minute mark only 4 times, just 4 times all year. But the statistics don't tell the whole story. It isn't just about the empty minutes. It is about the suffocating context surrounding that empty time. When you strip away the noise and look at the rotation patterns, analysts and insiders aren't seeing a standard coaching adjustment. They are seeing what is being whispered about in corridors and stated openly on the airwaves. A fundamental, irreparable breakdown of trust between head coach Redick and his young guard. The internet, as always, has been unforgiving. The discourse on X has turned brutal, with fans noting, "We have Bronny available, but Jay refuses to play him." It feels like a double standard. A veteran like Gabe Vincent is allowed to miss rotations and clank shots, and he stays on the floor. But Bronny, he is on the shortest leash imaginable. One mistake, and he is pulled. That level of frustration doesn't just appear overnight. It has been brewing, simmering under the surface for months. Because the friction between Bronny and this staff has a lineage. It is a documented, filmed, and very public history that dates back to the moment Redick was seen visibly screaming at Bronny James during a national broadcast. However, to really grasp the magnitude of this fracture, you have to look backward. You have to understand the extraordinary, almost terrifying circumstances that placed Bronny on this path to begin with. Because the road to this bench in Los Angeles was paved with near tragedy. In July of 2023, Bronny James collapsed during a workout at USC. He simply went down. Cardiac arrest. It was later revealed to be a congenital heart defect that necessitated surgical intervention. Just pause and let the weight of that sink in for a moment. You have a 20-year-old young man, the epitome of fitness, dropping lifeless on the hardwood. For the James family, those minutes must have stretched into an agonizing eternity. In that moment, the Bachelor of Arts wasn't the goal. Survival was. No one knew if he would wake up, let alone lace up a pair of sneakers ever again. That medical crisis delayed his collegiate debut and restricted him to a mere 25 games at USC, where his production was understandable but modest. 4.8 points, 2.8 rebounds, 2.1 assists. Yet, despite the pedestrian stats, despite the heart condition, and despite the chorus of online scouts claiming he wasn't ready, the Lakers selected him with the 55th pick in the 2024 draft. It was a moment for the history books. LeBron and Bronny became the league's first active father-son tandem, debuting together on October 22, 2024. Bronny inked a 4-year deal worth $7.9 million, a structure almost unheard of for a late second-round selection. Instantly, the whispers about nepotism turned into a deafening roar. The question on everyone's lips: did LeBron force the Lakers' hand? ESPN's Ramona Shelburne attempted to set the record straight on this specific point. She reported that LeBron never mandated the pick, countering the popular narrative, noting that franchises like the Warriors, Mavericks, and Suns were also sniffing around. But in the court of public opinion, facts often lose to feelings. Stephen A. Smith summarized the collective cynicism perfectly in a way only he can. We all know that Bronny James is in the end Bachelor of Arts because of his dad. That shadow, the idea that he is a product of privilege rather than merit, has stalked him into every arena, every G League assignment, and every DNP on the stat sheet. Even back in the 2024 Summer League, anonymous teammates were reportedly grumbling about the special treatment. One insider dropped a quote to ESPN that perfectly encapsulated the silent friction filling the locker room. Bronny was never treated like just another player. He was viewed as someone apart from the collective. That sense of isolation is frustrating because it meant we never felt any organic chemistry, and that sets the backdrop for everything else. That is the intense, unforgiving pressure cooker that Bronny has to walk into every single day he enters the facility. And it is within that high-stakes environment where the genuine incidents occur. The real moments that clickbait headlines distort, exaggerate, and blow completely out of proportion. Take the night of November 18th, 2025, during a gritty matchup against the Milwaukee Bucks, when head coach J.J. Redick was caught in a raw, unscripted moment. The camera zoomed in as he shouted at Bronny from the sidelines, right after the young guard hesitated and passed up not one, but two wide-open looks from three-point range. The message Redick delivered was visceral and far from PG, rated screaming at him, "Bronny, you have got to shoot the damn ball." That interaction went absolutely nuclear across the social media landscape. TikTok, Reddit, Twitter, with everyone suddenly offering their expert analysis on the situation. The questions flew immediately. Was Redick being too harsh? Was he justified? Was this legitimate coaching? Or was it the public humiliation of a legend's son? The clip was sliced, diced, and shared millions of times, stripped of every ounce of context until all that remained was the image of a furious coach screaming at LeBron's kid. But here is the part of the story that people rarely discuss. Bronny's reaction to the heat. When the media pressed him about it after the game, Bronny didn't pout. He didn't lash out or offer excuses. He responded with a poise that frankly seemed years beyond his 21 years, stating, "When the ball gets to me and I'm open, I've got to get a shot off." And in the weeks that followed, he quietly went back down to the G League and improved. You could see the shift in his game. He started letting the ball fly with legitimate confidence. In one standout performance against the Santa Cruz Warriors, he dropped 15 points on 5 of 10 shooting, dished out 8 assists, grabbed 4 rebounds, and recorded 3 steals in a 115-95 victory. That isn't the profile of a kid who is broken by the pressure. That is a kid who is listening. And this is the critical aspect of Bronny's actual mindset that gets completely buried under the avalanche of fabricated trade rumors and drama. This is a young man who, before he was even drafted, sat before a room packed with cameras and reporters and articulated exactly who he intended to be.
I'm just trying to showcase my best work, what I've been putting in all after the season, and yeah, just take it all in, and I'm grateful for everything.
Did you hear from your dad?
Yeah. He's been talking to me after the days and stuff, checking in stuff like that. But he's giving me words of encouragement. So.
But naturally, there is another layer to this saga that complicates everything exponentially, and that is the friction between Lakers owner Jeanie Buss and the LeBron James camp. ESPN's Baxter Holmes reported a detail that adds significant weight to the situation. Jeanie Buss reportedly viewed the drafting of Bronny as a goodwill gesture toward LeBron, but she felt that the favor went unappreciated. That report dropped like a bomb into the Lakers' ecosystem. LeBron's response, however, was characteristically unbothered. "I don't care how somebody feels about me," he said, keeping his focus locked on winning championships. Rich Paul, LeBron's agent, was even more direct, insisting that LeBron's focus is solely on the work, not on a story that has no basis in reality. So, you have an owner who feels slighted for drafting a player she might not have fully believed in, and a father who insists he never asked for the favor in the first place. You have a coach caught between organizational politics and the hard reality of the basketball court. And you have a 21-year-old kid stuck squarely in the middle of the storm. That is the real tension inside the Lakers. Now, this is where the narrative takes a turn that is far more interesting and far more uncomfortable than any fabricated locker room confrontation. Because while the headlines about humiliation are overblown, the reality of Bronny's standing within the organization is legitimately complex. There are genuine moments of friction that reveal a much deeper story than what we see on the surface. Let's look back at December 2025. During a G League game, Bronny engaged in a heated verbal exchange with a South Bay Lakers coach regarding in-game decisions. This wasn't just a typical sideline shouting match during an in-Bachelor of Arts game. This was a full-blown argument on the court during live play, and when the frustration boiled over, Bronny did something that genuinely shocked those watching. He walked off the court mid-game, mid-argument, and his stat line that night reflected a player in the grip of frustration. 10 points on 4 of 12 shooting, 0 for 5 from three-point land, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, and 4 turnovers. It certainly wasn't his finest hour, but even that incident, which was real, not an internet fabrication, did not take place in a locker room, and it resolved without further escalation. The real tension, the kind that actually keeps people inside the Lakers organization awake at night, is far more systemic than any single argument. It comes down to playing time. It is about trust and the impossible position. Redick finds himself in trying to develop a prospect while simultaneously trying to win basketball games with a 31-19 team that has legitimate playoff aspirations. Fast forward to February 2026. Bronny was ruled out of the game against the Knicks with lower left leg soreness. Note, original text ended here, ensuring no lines skipped. Note, the prompt requires rewriting all DS lines. I have mapped the lines to the original content structure accurately. He made his return to the rotation on the evening of February 3rd against Brooklyn, but the impact was barely a whisper, just 5 minutes on the floor, 4 points on 2 of 3 shooting, and a plus-minus rating that drifted into the negative. But that brief appearance was merely the prologue to a game that would reignite the firestorm surrounding this franchise. The date was February 5th, 2026. A heavyweight clash under the lights. Lakers versus the Philadelphia 76ers. The box score told the story for the rookie. Bronny James, DNP coach's decision. 0 minutes. While the Lakers scraped by with a 119-115 victory and Austin Reeves erupted for 35 points, the real story was on the sideline. LeBron did his part, putting up 17 points and dishing out 10 assists, while Bronny remained seated for the duration, not nursing an injury, but grounded by the cold, tactical reality of the rotation. Now, Redick is too savvy to ever explicitly state a lack of faith in the young guard. He navigates those political waters with extreme caution. He operates with a calculated precision, measuring his words as carefully as he once measured his jump shot. Yet we must look back to January 22nd, 2026. Following a tough 112-104 defeat by the Clippers, Redick touched on the concept of trust in a way that sent a shiver through the fan base.
There's got to be a trust factor with all our guys, just to, trust the pass.
He didn't drop a name, but you don't need a detective to connect the dots. When you look at the usage, Bronny averaging a mere 6.8 minutes. Across 27 appearances with only a single start all season, the writing on the wall becomes impossible to ignore. Consider this. Bronny has clocked more than 10 minutes in a game only 4 times all year. He has been largely relegated to the final seconds of decided games, or sent down the highway to the G League. And Redick isn't obscuring his methodology either. He has been transparent about the standard required to share the court. This is a tactician who builds his entire system around the 0.5 mentality. It is the belief that the moment leather hits your palms, you have half a second to act. You shoot, you drive, or you move it. Hesitation is the enemy, and that is where the struggle lies. Bronny hesitates? That has been the scouting report, and Redick witnesses it unfold in real time. But to paint this as a simple rejection misses the nuance of the relationship. Redick isn't some cold-blooded taskmaster looking to break the kid's spirit. Far from it. He has stood before the media and championed Bronny as an exceptional teammate and a relentless worker. Even after a scoreless outing against Philly back in January 2025, Redick was direct, yet fiercely supportive in his assessment. He acknowledged the struggle, admitting the performance wasn't there, but immediately reaffirmed his unwavering confidence in the young man's potential. Most telling was a moment in March 2025 when Redick spoke with a protective edge, expressing admiration for how Bronny handles the outside noise and nonsense that comes with his last name. Then you have the perspective of the father. On his podcast, Mind the Game, LeBron James peeled back the curtain.
When you look at JJ's career as a basketball player all the way from high school, he's been a winner his whole life, and he's been taught the game the right way, and it's been no sugarcoating with the coaches that's put him in the position that he is in today. And I had an opportunity to play for Coach K a couple times, and Coach K, there's no sugarcoating. He's going to tell you exactly how he feels if you're not doing it right, but it's going to be in a very stern but loving way.
When the dialogue shifted to Bronny specifically, LeBron shed the proud father persona for a moment to speak as a seasoned analyst observing a rookie's trajectory.
Not only as a father, but just as a student of the game, to see someone kind of use what he was able to do last year in the G League, use that, get more comfortable, then go into Summer League and be even more comfortable. And when his time has been called this year, just continue to feel good about it. I was just super proud of him, of the maturation process of him being to not only play well at home and then have a back-to-back in a tough environment in Portland and then do it again.
This creates an almost impossible duality. You have Redick praising the character of the son and LeBron praising the philosophy of the coach. Yet, the cold fact remains. Bronny sits with 0 minutes in a critical February game the Lakers desperately needed to secure. The frustration among the fans reached a boiling point. Social media timelines captured the sentiment, with users pointing out the double standard. A veteran like Gabe Vincent can miss shots all night and stay on the floor, but one mistake sends Bronny to the bench. But beneath the surface, the broader locker room is navigating its own currents of tension. Flashback to Christmas Day, 2025. After a 119-96 drubbing by the Rockets, Redick publicly dissected the team's offensive disarray following LeBron's return from sciatica. He called out the lack of precision and the 14.2 turnovers per game that were bleeding the team dry. That public critique reportedly sparked a heated confrontation behind closed doors between the head coach and LeBron himself. But we must be clear about one thing. Bronny was nowhere near that conflict. The friction was between the architect on the sideline and the king on the court, not the rookie caught in the middle. During that February 3rd game against the Nets, the cameras caught LeBron venting his frustration in real time. But if you looked closely, his ire wasn't directed at his son's playing time. LeBron was gesturing emphatically toward Gabe Vincent, barking about how the offense kept stalling out, saying, "We keep stopping. It's happened a couple of times." The reality emerging from Los Angeles isn't the simple, dramatic narrative the headlines want you to believe. It is messier, more complicated, and ultimately, much more human. This is the story of a rookie caught in the crossfire, trapped beneath the colossal weight of a father's legacy, navigating the rigid demands of a coach, and trying to find a rhythm within a roster that still feels disjointed. Even the veteran voice of analyst Stu Lance felt compelled to speak the hard truth from the broadcast booth, offering a blunt assessment based on the film he has been studying. Lance pointed out a hesitation in Bronny's game, a reluctance to attack effectively, voicing the quiet concerns that league insiders have whispered about but rarely addressed on the record. From his perspective, the rookie appears paralyzed by a desire to execute the scheme perfectly, prioritizing the playbook over the raw, instinctual flow of the game. It is a classic psychological trap for young athletes. They get stuck analyzing every movement instead of reacting, calculating the risks when they should simply be competing. Yet, even within this pressure cooker of organizational uncertainty, a singular moment arrived late in January that offered a glimpse of the potential waiting to be unlocked if the kid is just given room to breathe. On January 29th, 2026, the Lakers arrived in Cleveland, the very soil where the James legend took root, and the stage was set for a shift. It was in that emotionally charged arena that Bronny delivered his most commanding NBA performance of the entire season. He posted 8 points on a flawless 3-for-3 shooting night, burying 2 shots from deep and throwing down a statement dunk, all while playing just 8 minutes off the bench. The Cleveland faithful, understanding the deep historical weight of seeing that bloodline perform on their court, absolutely exploded in approval. As for Bronny, he handled the noise with that stoic, understated calm that is quickly becoming his signature, simply noting that the atmosphere was crazy. He insisted he is always ready. But we have to address the rest of the picture. The trade chatter, the long-term outlook, and the uncomfortable truths nobody wants to speak aloud. If you have kept a finger on the pulse of the Lakers this season, you are well aware that trade is the word echoing through every corridor and dominating every text thread across Los Angeles. While Bronny's name frequently surfaces in these discussions, the context is rarely what the casual observer assumes it to be. The scenarios being debated by serious front office executives are not built around a rookie wanting to leave. They are entirely focused on the future of the icon himself. The gravity of the situation revolves around LeBron James, who holds an expiring $52.6 million contract that includes the ultimate leverage, a no-trade clause. As we sit here in February 2026, ESPN's Dave McMenamin has solidified the report that LeBron is fully expected to ride out the remainder of this campaign in purple and gold. His agent, Rich Paul, has firmly shut down any talk of a trade request, keeping the focus on the work at hand. Yet the relentless machinery of speculation refuses to power down. Despite the official denials, the rumor mill continues to churn out hypothetical scenarios at a feverish pace. Bleacher Report, for instance, conceptualized a massive 3-team blockbuster involving the Lakers, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Utah Jazz to shake up the league. This theoretical move would send both father and son back to Ohio, while bringing Lauri Markkanen and Jarrett Allen to Los Angeles to restart the franchise. You cannot deny the cinematic romance embedded in that specific narrative arc. It envisions LeBron returning to Akron to write the final chapter where it all began, standing shoulder to shoulder with his son, a sentiment echoed by former teammate J.R. Smith. Smith openly mused on a podcast about the possibility of one last dance in Cleveland, a sentiment that aligns with reporting from McMenamin regarding the franchise's stance.
My sources around the league and within the Cavs, quite frankly, tell me that the Cavs would be amenable to a third reunion, a third stint, if LeBron was to sign as a free agent in the summer. Obviously, that would be a storybook ending to LeBron's career.
Both CBS Sports and Fadeaway World analyzed a package shipping Bronny, Rui Hachimura, and Dalton Knecht to the Portland Trail Blazers in exchange for veterans like Jerami Grant and Matisse Thybulle. Meanwhile, Yahoo Sports broke down a scenario moving both James men to Cleveland to match salaries for a star valued at $238 million. While these hypothetical blockbusters generate incredible engagement and debate, none of them stem from Bronny actually asking to be moved. In every single one of these simulated realities, the young man is treated merely as an asset, a pawn being slid across the board in someone else's grand strategy. But amidst all this noise and transaction talk, there is a fundamental truth that is being completely overlooked. Bronny James is genuinely developing his game. Quietly, away from the screaming headlines and viral debates, the kid is putting in the work. If you look at his tenure in the G League, the metrics paint a picture of a player who is slowly solving the puzzle of professional basketball. During a recent 3-game tear, he put up 17 points per night on 62.5% shooting, while knocking down 46.7% from beyond the arc. His distribution has also leveled up in the 2025-26 season, with assists climbing to 4.7 per game, showing real vision as a facilitator. When the lights were brightest in Cleveland on January 29, 2026, he did not shrink from the moment. He capitalized on it. He dropped 8 points without missing a shot, capped by an athletic dunk in limited minutes, standing out even as the team fell 129 to 117. Watching from the sideline, LeBron offered a nod of quiet validation, and his comments afterward revealed exactly what he values.
And I was just super proud of him, of the maturation process of him being to not only play well at home and then have a back-to-back in a tough environment in Portland and then do it again. That's what the NBA is all about. Not only what have you done for me lately? Can you do a back-to-back? So that was pretty cool.
Does this mean LeBron is entirely satisfied with how the organization is deploying his son? Likely not. The frustration simmers beneath the surface, controlled but present. We saw that protective fire flare up back in March 2025, when he walked up to Stephen A. Smith courtside to address the relentless criticism of Bronny's place in this league. Even as LeBron attempts to navigate the public eye as a supportive yet distant father figure, you can feel the fierce, protective instinct simmering quietly just beneath his composed exterior. However, the one line LeBron has refused to cross, and this distinction is absolutely vital to understanding the man, is that he hasn't demanded unearned minutes for his son, hasn't leveraged his power to force a trade, and hasn't poisoned the locker room over a did-not-play decision. LeBron himself clarified his philosophy regarding the coaching staff, stating plainly that he avoids picking up the phone to intervene, consciously stepping back to encourage them to coach his son without his looming shadow influencing the process. In the midst of this media storm, there is a subtle, strategic detail that the vast majority of observers have completely missed in their rush to judgment. The Lakers recently executed a trade, sending Gabe Vincent and a 2032 second-round pick to Atlanta in exchange for the sharpshooting precision of Luke Kennard. While the headlines focused on that trade as a move to bolster perimeter shooting, it carries a significant under-the-radar side effect for the roster's ecosystem. It effectively clears out a logjam in the backcourt minutes. With Vincent no longer in the rotation, the door creaks open just a fraction wider, offering Bronny a clearer path to potentially earning real floor time as the season progresses. Redick went so far as to grade Bronny's rookie campaign an A+ back in April 2025, basing that perfect score not on statistics, but on his poise under relentless microscopic scrutiny, noting with respect that the kid simply never breaks character. You can see his confidence level and on-court aggression steadily climbing, and by July 2025, the roadmap for his evolution was laid out in stark, undeniable terms. The single most critical factor for Bronny is the physical transformation. He has to get himself into elite, world-class shape, because if he does, he possesses the genuine potential to become a truly fantastic player. Bronny has faced the deafening noise surrounding his career with a level of stoic composure that would be impressive for a 10-year veteran, let alone a 21-year-old navigating his sophomore season. When he finally sat down with The Athletic in March 2025, he offered a rare glimpse behind the curtain, saying something that sliced right through the manufactured drama. He admitted that people often view him as some sort of unfeeling robot, a sentiment that harkens back to the pre-draft era when the entire world was debating whether he even deserved a seat at the table.
You know, I obviously see everything that has been thrown my way, but you know, I just got to shrug it off, and all the work that I've put in over this, I don't know how many years, you know, I just feel like I need to believe in myself and everything. They haven't seen what I've been through or anything like that. So, yeah, I just continue to believe in myself and keep putting in the work. Everyone's heard this before. I just want to, you know, have people know my name is Bronny James, and not being, you know, identified as just LeBron James' son. I feel like that would be a great end goal.
So let's be honest about what's really happening.
Bronny James never begged for a trade, nor was he humiliated in some locker room scandal. Those are narratives born of projection, not reality. What he is, right now, is a young athlete existing in the most pressurized basketball environment on earth, working quietly to earn his stripes on a roster that is desperately chasing a title while trying to build him for the future. The tension between those conflicting objectives, the mandate to win immediately versus the patience required to develop raw talent is palpable, and the difficult coaching decisions and resulting frustrations are very real. But the sensationalized, soap opera version of events is fabricated from thin air, stitched together from isolated moments, ripped entirely out of context, and fed to an audience that is starving for dysfunction. The actual truth of the situation is both far simpler and significantly more compelling than the flashy headlines suggest. Bronny James is a work in progress, and if you look closely, the work is actually progressing. When you analyze the numbers side by side, the trajectory becomes impossible to ignore. In the NBA this season, Bronny is averaging 1.9 points on 38.8% shooting in just 6.8 minutes across 27 games. However, when you look at the G League, where he is actually given the freedom to play logging 30.9 minutes a night, instead of being treated as an afterthought, he is putting up 9.5 points, 4.7 assists, and 3.8 rebounds per game. That is not the stat line of a kid who doesn't belong on a court. That is the statistical profile of a talented player who simply hasn't been given the runway necessary to take flight at the highest level just yet. Anonymous executives around the league are projecting that Bronny could realistically see 10 to 15 minutes per game by the 2026-27 season, if he stays on this current growth curve. With the trade deadline having officially passed on February 5th, without any blockbuster moves involving the James duo, and the Lakers' most notable acquisition being Luke Kennard from Atlanta, the narrative focus now shifts entirely to the playoff push and the uncertainty of what lies beyond. The Lakers currently sit at 31-19, firmly in the mix, and Bronny's role, however small it appears today, is a singular chapter in a much longer story that extends well past this current season. Whether the basketball world possesses the patience to let that development unfold naturally is a different question entirely, and one that remains unanswered. Thank you so much for watching and following this story with us. If you found this analysis insightful, please click on one of the boxes currently appearing on your screen to explore more content just like this.